Only one Porsche will be harmed in the making of this.
You know what? It would help if we plugged it in first.
We have to give consideration to all the metal structure on the inside as well as the outside. Okay. We cut a Porsche in half today, people. Yeah, take that! Boom, what's up, people? So today is the day this Porsche gets the chop. Yes, only one Porsche will be harmed in the making of this, but it's going to be made better, much better. It's not even going to be a Porsche anymore. It's going to be our own creation, but I wanted to walk you guys around, show you the details of this, figure out where we're going to cut it, and also have a person working with Genius Garage who's going to be taking the lead on this. Go in the other room, social distancing. But they're actually going to be cutting it in half right here today, so come on over and take a look. So the wheels are on it, and partially because we're going to put it down on the ground and then support the unibody chassis here to actually be able to cut it. It's interesting how close many things of the Lykan body are to this, but it's not going to simply fit over this even when we extend it. So that's something that has to be done. I doubt much of this is going to stay, but we've left it because we don't know what is going to need to be here. Now, obviously the taillight supports, that's going to be gone. All this is likely going to be gone, but there's no sense in getting too crazy cutting things up. So the car is going to extend the better part of 7 inches, which will make the car a little easier, a little more neutral in road racing, a little more stable at speed. It's kind of like the Nissan 300ZXs from the 90s. The 2+2s were a little longer, and I've heard that some road racers prefer it. So it's going to be a little longer, and it's not really going to affect the nature of the balance of the car as much as you might think. It's still going to effectively have the same weight distribution, but when we start throwing a lot of power at this and we need some more rubber in the back and these things are going to grow by a few inches, that is definitely going to change the balance of the car. So my thought is we're probably going to get a stiffer anti-roll bar in the rear that is adjustable so that we can adjust the mid-corner balance of the car. Because once we start having bigger tires on this thing and changing it, it is going to need to be adjusted to be real neutral and happy. But if you want to come over here, I'll show you the chassis. We'll look carefully at the nature of how this is going to be cut. Porsche did a good job with all of their lines, making them ability to disconnect them. So instance, here's the coolant lines that go to the motor, and then of course these are your aluminum tubes. So we're likely going to end up cutting these aluminum tubes here and actually elongating them as well and still be able to utilize the stock nicely developed parts. There's no sense in redesigning the wheel. Now with regard to the wiring here, the wiring harness on either side, it's nice that it's kind of here on the interior, but did a really nice job of cutting all the lengths of the wire you need in the proper gauge, and then one wire was done at a time, so you can't possibly screw it up. And then you just very nicely solder each one and do heat shrinking on them, and there you go. You've extended your wiring harness. We went about an extra inch more than we needed, just so that when it's cut, we can go from there. Here's the shifter assembly, which I gotta be honest, this is a pretty garbage part from Porsche. It's super jank. I mean, this isn't even very nice for a Volkswagen. So we're we're definitely going to be upgrading that, but this at least swings out of the way. And the parking brake cables will still work. We'll make an extender, and we'll actually still be able to utilize the stock mounts for the seats. This is all very nicely designed Porsche engineering for a street car, for both being torsionally rigid and safe. So it's nice to be able to reuse things like the seat mounts, the shifter mounts, the handbrake mounts, things like that, and not have to get too crazy with the wiring harness. Stay there and you can see this too. Obviously the wiring harness was extended on this side as well, so it's going to be a little tricky holding that out of the way. Now, where are we going to cut this thing? So this is stamped steel. It's a stronger alloy of steel. It's steel based, so it's not real hard to weld. There's a vertical wall here. Obviously there's vertical surfaces here, and then you can see these electric welds here, these spot welds. There's another fin on the inside. So really this is going to get cut, we haven't decided if it's going to be right here or right here, but it's going to get cut in this area just behind where the seats mount. This is just sheet metal, this is not a big deal, and then it's going to get cut behind this seam right here so we can keep these mounts. So really it's going straight across right here, but I have total confidence in the ability to do that. Now if you want to hop down here, we will take a look. All right, so you can see here, hopefully, Here's the air conditioning lines have been disconnected. We're gonna plug those before we do anything. Here's one of the radiator hoses from the engine, the coolant hoses, the main ones. The disconnection is right in the area where it's to be cut. So we'll be able to seal these and make extenders for each one of these things. Here's the brakes for the rear brakes. Those will obviously be extended. And then one of the guys, Tyler's gonna come in at a distance and he is gonna give this thing the chop. So let's go. But when in doubt, you like to use the tool that's the most precise, that gets the job done with the least amount of energy.
And with the least amount of sparks.
What he said, no sparks is good.
You know what? It would help if we plugged it in first.
Oh, yeah, that would help. You're clear.
Sweet. All right, contact.
You know, some guy yelled at me on the internet and said that he's been working on cars like this for 40 years and we're an idiot for cutting an aluminum chassis.
Yeah, this is definitely an aluminum
Because
chassis.
it's totally made out of aluminum.
Yeah, it's totally made out of aluminum.
Magnetic aluminum.
Yeah,
It's rust.
Space grade aluminum.
Yeah. Yeah. So with a lot of this stuff, you guys, there's no sense to dismantle the whole car. So if you can just carefully hold things out of the way while you're doing this, and it's not going to affect anything with the reconstruction or welding, then there's no sense in taking it apart. All right.
You want me to come all the way through the frame rail or come up to the frame rail?
All right, people, it is day 2. Reason being is because we started cutting it toward the end of the day, and instead of rushing through it, we decided to just chill and come back to it. So, Tyler, where are we at? What do you got to do?
We were cut about halfway through cutting the car.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's no lines under the side, so we can just go for it. We're gonna cut through the center floor pan first, and then we're gonna cut the main structural side rails so we're not inside the car when it breaks in half.
Sounds good. And with this, the hardest part is deciding what technique to use so you get the best cut, right?
Correct, because there's a lot of steel right on the side here, especially inside of this frame rail. So we're going to have to manipulate the blade a little bit to get
Finagle
all
and
of
take your
this
time.
steel. Yep.
Just keep it straight.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm
Keep it
gonna
on
let
the
you
line
do your
this
thing and
time.
learn from doing that way. You ready to go?
Sounds good.
All right, hit it, man. You're ex-Marine dad. Is your dad current or ex-Marine?
Big current.
So he's gonna give you crap if your cuts aren't exactly straight, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be yelled at for never being properly taught how to use a sawzall.
Ooh, well, if you were never properly taught, then whose fault is that?
He's not going like that.
All right, take your time, man. You're all right.
All right.
There we go. So when you do something precise like that, you've got a long blade that can easily walk. So you have to think about that, you have to think of the speed, you have to think of the angles you use, because the reason I started here was I had 2 points. And if I cut that dead straight and I was smooth and got it, as it cuts through, I can keep it going straight, and then I can do that outer part. Then I start here, get through this tight point, bring it into there, make sure that's straight. And then from there I could come in at a 45, line up all those things and bring it down in straight. The reason it got wonky for you is, one, I think the camera made you nervous and you were going to town a little fast, okay? But that's okay, even if it's off a tiny bit, it truly will not matter in the final aspect of this. But there's a little bit of a cut. Do you see where yours was starting to go off to the side here?
Yeah, the blade was walking out to the right there.
Correct. That's, your strategy was just a little off and you wouldn't notice it.
Okay.
That's why I stopped you. So that's okay. That literally will not matter at all when this is stretched. We're gonna have to prepare the whole area and it's all gonna be welded in a larger area in metal form. So it's a good opportunity to learn from that. So we're separated on this side, and that's why I brought the 2 jacks over to support the front and the rear, because if I lower this, currently the car is only connected via the frame rail bulkhead type area over, it's not really a bulkhead, but it's stuck over there. It's no longer supported front to rear. So now we need to decide how we're going to support that.
Get that fuel line out of the way.
No, you're fine. That's all we need to do. That's all. Cool. So, do you want to cut that, or do you want me to cut that? How do we want to do this?
Well, we want to cut it from the inside facing out, right?
No, it doesn't matter. I'm saying, do you want to cut through that, or do you want me to cut through that? Because the other person has to be on the quick jack to support the front of the car.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Give it a shot?
I'll give it a shot.
I can stand it.
No, just relax, relax. You're fine. Okay.
Right.
See, now I can get eyes on what you're doing, make sure you're cool, and then we'll be good.
Are you ready?
Yeah, here's what you go real slow.
Just
get this to start biting where you want it to bite.
Yep.
Okay, that's all. Get this started here first.
Yep.
Then you can start biting into that one, but you got to be straight. Height, basically. What we're going to do is you and me are going to lift this together. We're going to push it forward approximately 7 inches. And then we're just going to stick that underneath. How about that? You and I are going to lift it up and we're going to stick it underneath. And then we're just going to walk it on the jack.
Okay. You want to untie these because they're a little tight.
Yeah, we should do that. Good call. Good call. Ready?
Good.
More than 7 inches. All right, so check this out, people. Let's get in close and let's look at the structure in here. Come on down in here and look. Now, this is relatively simple in a way. Obviously, you can see the outer section, but you have a vertical wall here, and inside of there's like lightning holes, etc. So this is an inside structure to keep all this from deforming. You know, an aluminum can is very strong. You can stand on it, but the second it deforms slightly, it'll crumple. So structures like this on the inside, this does provide rigidity in terms of this direction, but it also keeps the outer box section from crumpling. That's a big part of it like that. Same for this. This is a very, very strong section in here. This one here doesn't look like much, so it's a 2-wall layer here, but a very strong section in here. So when this gets extended, we have to give consideration to all the metal structure on the inside as well as the outside. Now the other opportunity here, because this is where the back of the door effectively would be. So this can be bigger structure. So for instance, if you look here, this is a large structure up in here. So it may make most sense to have your steel come from this point and come downward. It makes a bigger box section, shall we say, which will give even more strength when you're elongating a car like this. And obviously we've got all this beautiful room to connect and weld and spot and rosette or spot weld here. The so-called transmission tunnel area, or the center section, also provides structure. And if you want to come and look at this, you can see that inside it also had extra walls going on. It was not just sheet metal on the outside. So that's providing a lot of stiffness here. Similar opportunities exist to be able to make more strength here. We could even think of coming up in here. But we do want to consider that our shifter linkage is here, which no longer gets up to where it needs to be. And the parking brake, which we will be utilizing, is there. But the parking brake, we could easily extend these too. So if we're doing structure, we need to consider that obviously there has to be a big door here, a door that opens and closes. You have to have all these linkages. So the interesting thing about automotive engineering and design is it's really easy to make a beautiful and awesome car if it had no doors. But there's some simple truths about automotive engineering and design that kind of ruin the ability. If you didn't have to have doors on a car, they could be beautiful, but people have to get in and come out. And that's kind of annoying. So anyway, but this is what's going to be fun when building the structure to make the basic chassis very rigid. A Boxster, as you all know, is a convertible, so all of its torsional rigidity, or the vast majority of it, has to come through this chassis pan and not giving consideration to the doors, the structural members, or the top. Whereas in something like a Cayman, the floor does not have to be as strong because it has the box section of the roof creating a lot of stiffness to it. So we have the opportunity to start with something that was already stiffer down here, make this even better, and then when we start doing the cage of the roof type assembly that's metal, not part of the composite structure, but metal, we will be able to make this platform stiffer than the original Boxster was, even though it is in fact longer. So that's kind of that. Tyler, what do you think about all this? You want to come up here and look at it and talk about it?
Yeah, I think we did a good job, and the fact that it's cut is definitely a huge milestone.
What would you think would be a great next step for how to design this and figure out how we're going to make this bigger?
I think the first thing would definitely be working out the structure of the side rails here, because those are obviously going to be the strongest parts, especially when we put this down before we have the roof on it.
How would you start working out what kind of structure needs to be there spatially?
Take measurements and start figuring out what we need to do to make the car strong enough.
Well, how about this? Let me throw this out there. How about we start making card templates of things? And we actually start doing mock-ups to see.
Yeah.
And then that way we can see it and draw it and figure out what is going to be the best opportunity.
That's a great idea.
Okay. This video is going to be a downer for the internet because there's no idiocy and donuts.
Yeah. No
we cut a Porsche in half today, people. Yeah, take that. Oh, yes. Now we have 2 Porsches. I hope you enjoyed this. This is how you ruin a perfectly good Porsche. So hopefully we're talented enough to build something even better. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and naturally that you will subscribe, but please click that bell so I can continue to bring you wholesome and entertaining automotive content. Also, a huge thanks to Avalon King ceramic coating. They're supporting this channel and making this all possible. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to using it on all of my vehicles, including my old dirt bike. Ceramic coating bonds directly to the surface of your paint, trim, and plastics to give a long-lasting shine that beats all waxes. It lasts for years and it's easy to maintain. I've got it on my Viper right now, and my car has never looked this good. So give them a try. Again, thanks for watching, and I look forward to see you next time.